Hey, welcome back to yet another Backyard Professor Chess video. I'm taking my game out of Alan Watson's book, Alekin's Anti-Grunfeld Attack. This is a white repertoire against the Indian defenses. Pretty good little book. Not bad. There's a particular game in there. It's game number 151. It's by Pujol versus Ohm in 1986. Because I'm attempting to improve my chess, because I just suck, games like this catch my eye as I work through lots of Grandmaster games, because chess fundamentals seems to give the winner the edge every time. And it seems like I repeat that over and over again, but that's because I'm seeing it played in Grandmaster games over and over again. And the winners are using what I'm emphasizing. And I'm doing this for my sake, you know. You guys already know this, but I don't, so I need to get an extra couple thousand of lessons. But here in a couple of years, I'm going to terrorize the internet with my online chess playing. Or else I'm going to make them laugh to death at how lousy I've stayed. Who knows? We shall see, huh? Oh. G6, knight c3. And the c5 here, and the note, d5 is also a consideration here, but they push c5, so that's the way it is. And that's why d5 was a consideration, because now they're closing off the center with locked pawns, right? So this is going to be a knight's game, perhaps. This certainly favors the knights and not the bishops, because knights can get outposts, a black outpost here, a white outpost here, a white outpost here once this pawn is gone, etc. So this could be a really good knight game as opposed to a bishop game, although this fianchettoed bishop slices right through the center on that long h8 a1 diagonal, which is a good diagonal. So, you know, we'll see as time goes on. And then knight comes up to a6, and bishop to e3, and b6. So they're keeping things pretty closed at this point, truly. Castles was also a possibility, because it would have prevented this next move, queen a4 check. Maybe not presented it, but taken the sting out of it. And so now, because of that, the knight comes down here. Whoops, not that one, dork. This one. Knight comes down here to d7. And now, bishop to d3. We see a real good development, for sure. That bishop isn't doing a lot right now, except guarding a couple of pawns, which are locked in the center anyway. So, but not right now, but maybe later it will. So at least they're pulling the pieces out so that they can castle and connect the rooks. That is one of the chess fundamentals. I'm telling you, connecting the rooks, getting the rooks into action, absolutely a must if we are to improve our chess games. No question about it. None whatsoever. And because I don't know anything about chess, and so many people out there online are saying this guy is a complete moron, don't listen to him, I agree with them. Don't listen to me. Watch how the Grandmasters play the games I'm showing you. You'll see. I promise. Absolutely promise. Fundamentally so. So, now the knight comes back here to c7. And knight brings up to e2 here. And then a6. At this point, well, white's got the obvious, the queen side and the center a little bit more space. It is a locked board, more or less, at this point. They can open it up if they so desire. Black gives you the impression of being a little cramped, doesn't he? Yeah, truly. Not a lot of maneuver room for the Queen Bishop. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What do you do when you are the player who is cramped? We'll see what Black tries to do here. Very, very instructive. Queen comes back down to c2. And knight comes up here to e5. Good outpost. Like I said, knights. It's a knight's board. I mean, at least it's set up that way at this point. And so, certainly, utilize your knights. Maneuver them around to where you can get on those outposts. Fundamentally so. Yes, yes, and oh goodness, yes. Now, h4, and Black meets h4 with h5. They're going to lock pawns for whatever reason. That's the strategy at this point. Neither side has castled yet. That's kind of interesting. And, you know, with a locked center like this, castling isn't as urgent, right? Because attacks really can't occur against the king in a locked board as easy. So it's not that big of a deal, right? We understand that now. Knight comes to g3. Again, if this pawn wasn't here looking at the outpost, possibly for the future, just to understand, right? Knight is going to go ahead and take d3. He exchanges his bad bishop, and that, you know, that couldn't possibly have hurt, and he's giving him check, but that couldn't have hurt white. Not really, because truly that bishop wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. So what that did, it accomplished two things for each side, that exchange. So far as I can tell, with what very little I understand and know, it does give Black a chance, if he'll play his moves right, to gain more space and be less cramped. And that's the same thing it accomplishes for white. It allows him to get rid of a bad player and have a little bit more manipulation of room, right? Because you know, in a closed game like this, more or less, there's going to be a lot of maneuvering. You can't call it meandering, really, not wandering aimlessly, but maneuvering, yes. Because you do want to get your knights in the right position, as well as the rooks, the queen, what bishops remain, the pawns, etc. So that exchange probably helped both sides, in my opinion. In my very uninformed opinion. Yes. Now, he's bumping up to the queen side a little more. You can see he can open this up just a smidgen if they so desire. They can leave the tension if you want, but the potential for opening up is really real now. In fact, it's so real that white pushes his rook to the b1 for a future open file, certainly. Besides that long diagonal. He's going to want to start pushing pawns, I think, because the queen side looks like it's going to become contested. So he's trying to stay prepared here for later on when he starts pushing pawns and exchanging pawns. He wants a file, right? So that rook move makes sense, is what I'm trying to say. Years ago, when I would see Grandmasters move their rook one and there were still pawns and pieces and all, you shake your head and you go, what the heck? They're looking to the future. It's looking like everyone's starting to move on the queen side, so why not prepare for it? There's certainly not any kind of center attack against either king yet, because you simply can't. That makes sense, right? See, chess, man, if you can, yes, I understand simplifying it will only get you so far. I agree. I agree entirely, yes. But understand the simple and the complex, the more detailed, I should say, follows automatically, and you're not lost. Bruce Lee in the martial arts said, a punch is just a punch, and a kick is just a kick. And he practiced the basic punches and kicks every day. He didn't forget them once he got into a spectacularly special, super-duper, quadruple backflip split with a half a gainer kick. No, he kept making the basic kicks and practicing them. I'm just saying. Yeah, I know. Shut up and quit saying and start showing. Amen, brother. So, okay. Now he's developed his bishop. He's been pushing his pawns. He's got his knight capable. His queen can be going that way. So really, it's looking like we're going to be playing on the queen side somewhat. You see how reading the chessboard can help you grasp this. I know, I emphasize that a lot. So does Silman. And he got to be an international master. Not because he was a twink like me, but because he used fundamentals and imbalances like this. One of his main emphasis is you have no choice. If you can't read the board, you can't possibly know what to do that's right, that helps you win. That's just simple sense. Right? Well, simple sense for a simpleton. That's why I keep going with it. So, okay, B3. I mean, you know, how many signals do we have to have here? Yeah? And you notice they're not in any big, huge slash dash speedy needing to hurry up. Yeah, they're only doing 1 or 2 bump moves and all that, but they're getting all the pieces they can into position correctly so that they can be the most effective. That makes good sense in a closed center board. We're seeing this in action. Silman, so far as I can tell, is exactly right. And I've seen it in lots of Grandmaster games. And you have too, because I'm showing them to you. Right? Even if they're not famous Grandmasters, who cares? It doesn't have to be famous names to show us chess fundamentals. Not at all. Not at all. Look at this. Okay, look. What you do? You know, I hate to tell you I told you so, because that makes me sound arrogant, but man, that's nice to see, because the board said eventually they're going to have to start developing that way. Nice! All right, cool. This stuff works, man. Hey, now this next move, I'm lost. Went right over my head. I haven't got a clue why you did this. King F2. Don't ask. I don't know. But that's what he did. Now, black, I understand why he did that. Okay, that makes sense to me, yeah. The King F2, other than say, I mean, I might be being too pessimistic here. The connecting of the rooks, that could have helped. Maybe that's why he did it, you know. He didn't have to castle. He's got something else in mind. It appears to me, right? I mean, doesn't it to you? You don't see that as often as you see castling, I'll put it that way. So there you go, there is that. Well, guess what? Our perplexity is answered. He brings that rook all the way across. Had he castled, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So is this a case where white has been monkeying around here, tinkering around here, fooling black into paying attention and putting more resources on this side so that he could zip over here real quick and attack the king? It's something Malikan used to do. So Possibly, yeah. The question is, can he pull it off? Well, I don't know. Well, let's look. So, knight comes to e8, a quick hop or two, and you have another defender. So it could be for a terrific kingside fight. Well, and then he bumps the knight to e2, and now black presses f5. Very interesting. So this is going to loosen things up. You notice they've left the tension here on the queen side. Neither one of them have taken a pawn yet, and that will open up some things eventually, sure. But now it looks like he's opening things up on the king side as well, right? I mean, if nothing else, he's gaining more space so that he has a better chance to maneuver some stuff on the king side. He might be doing that because he feels the pressure of whites pulling these rooks over to come at him eventually. Pawn pushes like crazy. Use the pawns as battering ram. You got a bishop that's backed up by a queen here. You've got a knight that can go boink boink real quick, and you're there. So it could be. These are kind of some of the things we always want to be watching out for. How come he made that move that way? Well, e takes f5. Here we go. So the thing begins to open up just slightly, not a whole lot, but look at this. He pushed the f5 so that he could open up, and he already had his good bishop here, and now he's got a fantastic diagonal toward the queen side. Very most interesting, Papa-san. Yeah, very interesting. So, knight f4, like I said, just a couple of bumps, blink, blink, and you're there. You're here quick. Boy, there's an outpost right there. He could easily put his knight here and the bishop exchange. White could not possibly be disappointed with that exchange. Not that I see on a quick superficial looking, no. Not at all. If I was white, I wouldn't mind having that bishop gone. Really. I'm not even joking. That's the most threatening piece black has. To be able to trade it off here would just be buttons for me. I wouldn't mind that. So, a possibility. We're looking at possibilities. So, what happens? Well, knight f6. See, the guy bumped over and bumped up. Now he's got another defender. He's got, criminy, 5 pieces over to the king, so it's not going to be much of a kingside attack. White's king, oh, it looks looser. It really does. No kidding. And now look what he does. King to g3. You know, I didn't do a chess app or a computer analysis on this, but, Yeah. Am I missing something hidden? Probably. I usually do. But that move, no. I mean, seriously. I mean, no joke, really. Queen e2 looks better to me than the king g3. But that's just me, you know. So anyway, I didn't play this. He did. So that's what we're looking at. And now, black pulls the trigger here over on the queen side. Bishop takes c4. So the king side has been somewhat opened, and now he's opening up the queen side. He's trying to play both sides, which is a strategy Alekin said he used to love to do in a closed position. He used to fly off on both sides. He loved that. So here we go. And now, look at this. Who has the open file? Chess fundamentals. Where's his rook? Oh, it's over here behind these guys, Professor. That's true. But this one isn't. And what's he doing with the rook on the open file? He's using it. You know. Repeat, repeat. You've said that 200,000 times. I have a feeling I'm going to say it another 200,000 times too. Because that's a chess fundamental that wins over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'm just saying. So, the knight to h3. Now look. This makes sense too, because that, guys, come on. That's a good looking outpost. Seriously. Seriously. That knight can never be chased from that outpost. He could only be exchanged. Were he allowed to get there? You see that? So this move makes sense, and Black's move makes sense when he says, no way, cowboy. And he trades his good bishop that was on a real decent outpost for the knight that could potentially have been on an outpost. He trades that bishop, and that is a proper trade. And I've said it, I keep saying it because every now and then you hear it, well, I'm not going to trade my bishop for a knight. In this instance, that would have been a great trade, in my opinion. I personally would not have wanted the knight there just to keep my bishop. No! For one thing, I couldn't attack it with my bishop. Heavens no, right there, right next to the... No. Better to be without the bishop. That's just my opinion. Now, here's the other thing that I want to show you also that Black had to have been happy about. The rooks, yeah, he bumped them over here. Well, let's just put it this way. Their influence is minimum. Can you see that? The rook over here is sincerely more influential, which means more powerful than this one and that one, in my opinion. Now remember, I'm uninformed, so I might be wrong, but I would much rather have black rook than whites. Just saying. Just one of those little myths. Now watch. Watch the magic. Really. He's on the open file. He's got a row. Pow. Yeah. Yeah. Once again, I will say it at the risk of being completely wrong and being demonstrated to be a complete dunderhead that I probably am talked about on the internet, which is okay. But that rook just got even more valuable than either one of whites, in my opinion. Okay, so the queen says that's just about enough of that. Let's put a stop to this nonsense right now. And I can't help it. I'm like all of you. I love it when I'm right. The rook just keeps getting more valuable all the time, every move, because it started on an open file. And it took the knight. And you go, and you're cackling about that, you dork? A rook for a knight and a pawn? I don't think so. But if white were to do that, wouldn't black do that? And then when the pawn exchanges, black has a direct attack on the king. I'm just saying, think this through. But I think that rook got away with taking that knight. And now he's threatening the queen. That's pretty awesome. And in fact, the queen does come down to E2. Right? And this is a small victory dance. Woohoo! Woohoo! Because of that rook getting on the open file and kicking butt why not continue to kick butt? Because now you got a bishop, a knight, and a pawn for a rook. That's a great trade. That is a great trade. All because of the open file. Chess fundamentals at its finest, illustrated once again. And now watch. Boom. Knight on the outpost. Jeremy Silman. Thank you. Yeah, baby. Hats off to Silman, my man. Look at this outpost. Hi-yi-yi. Woohoo! Holy shish kebab. Now, before we get all hot and excited, it's too late, but still, the queen went to D2, and then white went ahead and said, yeah, I quit. I'm done, you got me. And you go, really? Yeah. Yeah, look at the board. Here's the variation that I would have done had I been black. Had he done that and not resigned, I would have said, well, in that case, check. Here come the troops, man. Here come the troops. Now, of course, you've got the F4. But now, I would simply go check with F4 and fork the queen. Because you're supported by the rook, so the king can't take you. So that leaves the queen to take you. And so the little lady falls. Not check, but who cares? You just got the queen. Now, at this point, watch. If the king decides to take the rook, and for Pete's sake, you just truly have no choice, then you go queen f8, check. And let's say, you know, really, you can't go back into here, you're going to get mated, so you have to run around this island. So you go to e4, and then you've got queen f5, checkmate. So, you know, the fun point about this game that I loved, and it will never become a tiresome theme, because when I see one of my heroes, Ben Feingold, he's another chess instructor on the internet. I'm not a chess instructor. I'm a student who's showing my journey. But Ben Feingold is a very fine grand. At one time, I believe he said he was rated like 2556. He's pretty stinking good. And when he's talking about the open files and using the open files and the good effects of the open files, take it to the bank. He's not joking any more than I am. Because, once again, central control and open files, and we saw as well the principle of knights belong on outposts, and we saw how in a closed game the knights predominated over the bishops. I'm just saying, you know, the more Grandmaster games I go through, the more convinced I am that Jeremy Silman knows what he's talking about. The more convinced I am that Alexander Alekin became superbly, ridiculously great because he put these simple fundamentals: extra space, rooks on open files, bishops in open fields, pawn chains, keep your pawns together as much as possible. I mean, the more you see that, the more you realize, you know, these imbalances, The Grandmasters will have the imbalances, and then they will do everything they can to enhance those imbalances, and 99 out of 100 times, they win. There's a direct correlation there. And it's fun to know that this silly stuff really works. If it works for them, it's going to work for us. So there's your chessercise. There's your chess game. I believe this is my third today, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go play a few games of chess, and then I'm going to watch a movie tonight. I'm going to take the rest of the night off. I apologize for the inconvenience with which my absence might cause you for your chess IQ to not continue to ascend to the high peak of glory. However, there's always tomorrow. I'll see you guys then.